What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about one of my personal favorite superheroes. I don't talk about this character very often. I don't get to talk about Daredevil very much on this channel just because sometimes it just doesn't turn out that way. But every now and again, yeah, you got to take these opportunities we have been given and make a little something out of them. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about a story arc from one of the more recent runs of Daredevil, specifically Daredevil Back in Black, Volume 6. Mayor Fisk by Christos Engage, Charles Soule, and Ron Garney and Stefano Landini. And in this video, we're going to figure out how Wilson Fisk became mayor of New York City, and more importantly, how far Daredevil is willing to go to dethrone him. We're going to talk about all that and more right now, but first, wash your hands and let's hit that intro.
Word to wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Before we get started, if you want to see more awesome comic book videos like this one, it only takes 2 clicks to become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. Click. Okay, so how did all of this happen? Well, it's actually fairly easy to figure out. The whole thing with Wilson Fisk is that he had kind of been laying low while Daredevil was off helping his new best bud, Blind Spot, in China with the hand, and a new recently arisen figure by the name of 10 Fingers. Wilson announced his candidacy shortly before Election Day, and he won. And honestly, Foggy Nelson's mindset is that maybe because people didn't have time to think about it. He announced his candidacy so late in the game, people really didn't even have time to completely wrap their minds around what all he was trying to accomplish. But that's the thing, Fisk didn't cheat, he didn't lie, he simply played the game. He made promises, avoided questions about his past, and he stayed on message. But not only that, just like another shady figure who found his way into a very high office, in the real world, he came up with a message, something that he knew would resonate with people and get them to vote for him. Something that he knew universally everyone could get behind, the fact that superheroes ruin everything. It's true, even Matt's coworker at the district attorney's office, Ellen, even went as far as to kind of say the same thing, echoing the idea that, at one point in time, she had a car, something that in New York City, of course, if you live there, I don't have to tell you this, having a car is kind of a luxury. And she really enjoyed having that car. It allowed her to get out of the city, to go travel, do things, spend time with her girlfriend, but a certain friendly neighborhood Spider-Man who used her car, fortunately while she wasn't in it, and he hucked it at the Rhino. And this left her without a car. And because the insurance game is so crazy when it comes to superhero related things, they may as well be considered acts of God, she wasn't able to get her car back. And of course, other New Yorkers can probably sympathize with what she's going through, not just for cars, but just things in general. Superheroes, when they fight villains in the city, they cause a lot of destruction. It's just part and parcel of vigilantism. Not only that, sometimes the stakes are even higher and people get hurt as well. And anybody can get behind that. And that is Wilson Fisk's mission statement. He is going to shut down vigilantism, Daredevil included. And just as Wilson Fisk tells Daredevil to his face that Daredevil anointed himself as the protector of the city and its people, but New York voted for Wilson Fisk. And this is something that Daredevil just can't let go. He feels like he dropped the ball. He feels like spending that time away in China dealing with Blind Spot's business kind of set all this up. It didn't give him the opportunity to nip this in the bud from the very start. He's going to bring Wilson Fisk down no matter what it takes. But the question is, how is he going to do it? And the thing is, Daredevil can't even count on the police because even the clean ones are in Wilson Fisk's pocket. And not necessarily from a monetary standpoint, but just the fact that they can get behind what he's selling. And they've set up an anti-vigilante task force, something that winds up tricking Daredevil into acting in what he thinks is a bog standard mugging when it really isn't. This is a setup. This isn't a citizen, an innocent, being accosted by a couple of thugs. No, every last single one of these players is a cop. Not only that, they bring Daredevil to Wilson Fisk, and Fisk used this opportunity, as I stated earlier, to goad Daredevil into action. And even though Daredevil didn't actually do anything to him, Fisk frames him for assault. And now Daredevil has become public enemy number 1 in New York City. Every last single cop in the city is out for him, not just the cops either, but the citizens as well. There's a bounty on Daredevil's head and everyone is looking to collect, even the people Daredevil has protected for years. Now, of course, he's able to lose some of this heat thanks to Blind Spot, who, despite the fact they have a somewhat tenuous relationship right now, Blind Spot does use his abilities to turn invisible to dress up as Daredevil and just simply vanish, kind of getting people to lose the scent on where Daredevil is. Even worse yet, Matt Murdock working at the DA's office, and everyone knows that he's best buds with Daredevil. He has been forced by his boss to build a case against Daredevil now that he is public enemy number 1. Now, you're probably sitting here wondering, Daredevil has had his secret identity outed more times than the law allows. He has been outed on no less than 6 separate occasions. And this is something I'll probably cover in a story arc that came down a little earlier in the pipe. But thanks to the Purple Children, Daredevil's identity has been resealed. So not even Fisk knows that Daredevil is actually Matt Murdock. And it makes things even more interesting for Matt Murdock when Wilson Fisk appoints him as the deputy mayor. Now, this is an opportunity that Matt Murdock cannot turn down because A, it would get him out of building the case at the DA's against Daredevil, but it would also get him closer to Wilson Fisk. And Matt leaps at the opportunity. Deputy Mayor is a title and nothing more than that. Deputy Mayor isn't an elected office, as Matt points out. This is actually just a title, if nothing else. Fiorello LaGuardia actually created this position in the 40s, basically so he would have someone to go and attend parties and functions that he simply didn't want to go to. It's nothing special. Matt has no true power, and even if something were to happen to Fisk, if he were somehow able to get Fisk impeached or removed from office in some way, shape, form, or fashion, he wouldn't even be the next in line to become mayor. That's how much of a figurehead position this really is. But that doesn't matter because even though Wilson Fisk is telling the public eye that even though he and Matt Murdock don't get along and they have a long history of being at each other's throats, he's going to take Matt Murdock's advice and allow Matt Murdock to influence policy. But we all know that's not the truth. Fisk is just keeping his friends close and his enemies closer. And what Fisk does is he saddles Matt Murdock with probably one of the most boring jobs that you could possibly saddle a person with: paperwork. Not only has he saddled him with a ton of paperwork that's not even written in Braille, he also saddled him with an intern, yet another person to keep him busy. And that is probably going to be Wilson Fisk undoing. But we'll talk about that here in just a little while. You see, Daredevil is using this opportunity since he is in Fisk's building. He is nearby Fisk at almost all times, even if he is bogged down in paperwork and with an intern who won't shut up. Fisk doesn't know that Matt is the Daredevil, so he is going to use this opportunity. He's going to use his skill set and his powers to essentially act as a living wiretap to absorb all the information that Fisk is putting out in the mayoral office. One of the things that sticks out to Matt more than anything else is something called the Sarnos Project that he overhears Wesley and Kingpin talking about. But he doesn't know what it is. More importantly, both Daredevil and Fisk have to contend with a recently returned villain by the name of Muse, a character who basically is one of Daredevil's worst nightmares. He's a character who can mess with the Daredevil's radar senses, his enhanced senses. Not only that, he's no slouch when it comes to strength and speed, and he's not bad in a fight. Muse is a dangerous character. He is the one, and no pun intended here, blinded Blind Spot by gouging out his eyes. And if that weren't enough, he had murdered multiple Inhumans. And during this time frame, this is when New Adelan was a thing and the Inhumans were after him. But now his crimes seem less focused on Inhumans now that he's broken out of prison. And he's gone back to his old ways of just creating art all around town. Art that seems to be in some way, shape, form, or fashion against what Wilson Fisk wants. He's painting murals across all of the buildings in the city. Pictures of Luke Cage saying, "Don't be afraid of me." Iron Fist saying, "I can do anything, I can do this." Moon Knight saying, "I'm not crazy, I'm awake." And She-Hulk saying green is clean. One of Spider-Man that says spiders are people too. And the one that's probably hurting Wilson Fisk feelings the most is the one that is right outside of Wilson Fisk's window, of Daredevil saying that he's not a crook in a very Richard Nixon style pose. You see, these murals are actually kind of hurting Fisk's stance on anti-vigilantism. It's kind of insinuating that maybe the superheroes aren't really bad guys, even though the message could be mixed up. But that is what Muse wanted. He wanted people to see that superheroes aren't such a bad thing. Muse is indifferent to the whole thing, even though he is in fact a villain and superheroes often thwart his plans. Yeah, he doesn't care. But unfortunately, Muse's psychosis leads to him creating a mural of dead police officers next to a mural of the Punisher, saying, "You love me, you love what I do." And Fisk uses this against the vigilantes, showing that yes, the Punisher murdered police officers, that this is likely his doing, but it doesn't fit his MO. This isn't a thing that the Punisher would do. He's never killed a cop that wasn't dirty or wasn't a criminal himself. And the public knows this, but they need a scapegoat, and Fisk knows how to spin a story. At the end of it all, Fisk is not heeding Matt's warnings to not go after Muse. It's only going to make things worse, and that's exactly what has been happening. Things have been getting worse. Matt told Fisk not to go after Muse the first time, and he did, and next thing you know, there's 6 dead cops. And now he's going after him even more, and he just refuses to listen. But Fisk isn't the only one that's not listening to reason. Neither is Blind Spot. Blind Spot now knows that Muse is back in the game, and he decides to get Muse's attention the best way he knows how, defacing his art. And he defaces the mural of Daredevil, immediately getting Muse's attention. And Muse has no qualms about throwing him off the roof of the building he was standing on. But Muse is the least of everyone's worries because Blind Spot does eventually take him down. Unfortunately, he had to turn himself over to the power of the Beast, but when he did so, he chose not to kill Muse. And because he didn't kill Muse, the Beast was angered, and now the Beast wants payment. And Muse, well, in a fit of stupidity or psychosis, not sure which, just allows himself to be burned alive and seems perfectly okay with that. But that's not really what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is the fact that we now know what Project Sarnos is. Fisk has been sending Wesley out to meet with various people who Kingpin has had dealings with in the past. The Owl, Black Cat, Hammerhead, Diamondback. He's gotten them all together in a meeting, which essentially was kind of a way to let them divvy up the parts of New York that they wanted, but that's actually not what they were truly there for. Fisk was setting them up. He knew that they would end up killing each other, and that's exactly what he wanted. Only problem is that Daredevil was there to stop it. Well, technically, not so much Daredevil, but the Marvel Knights. Because Daredevil had recruited Echo, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage and Iron Fist, Misty Knight, and Spider-Man, as well as Moon Knight, to stake out the meeting, and ultimately when they realize the villains are gonna kill each other, they have to intervene. But now that Daredevil knows exactly what Fisk is up to, he races off to stop Fisk, who is in Central Park at the moment, holding a rally. And when Daredevil pulls up in full Daredevil regalia, Fisk decides to end this once and for all, because right now he knows that there's nothing that the devil of Hell's Kitchen can do to him. He's achieved everything he wants. He's essentially shut down vigilantism, and he's proved it by taking down the other Marvel Knights when they tried to stop the other villains. And besides, what is Daredevil gonna tell the people? That Mayor Fisk orchestrated an event that would basically get criminals off the street? And he proves a point that if he were not who he was, if he were not Wilson Fisk, Daredevil probably wouldn't care as much about him being mayor. He hasn't cared in the past. Why now? But the point of the matter is Wilson Fisk is the Kingpin, and a tiger does not change their stripes, so too goes for the Kingpin. And the Kingpin is gonna take a swing at him with a sledgehammer. Wilson Fisk is trying to goad Daredevil into a fight because he knows if he can get Daredevil to attack him, he can use it and spin it like he did before, and Daredevil is fully aware of this. Fisk is willing to go so far as to bash his own face in with a sledgehammer just so he can frame Daredevil even more, and Daredevil won't allow it. But that doesn't matter either. No matter how much Kingpin beats the dog shit out of Daredevil, Daredevil is refusing to fight back. Fisk leaves Daredevil to lie in a heap so he can send the authorities to come pick him up. But before Wilson Fisk can gloat too much, Fisk gets Boromired while he's celebrating in front of all the people in attendance in Central Park. Multiple arrows fired into his stomach, his chest, his back, and hundreds of hand ninjas appear out of nowhere, striking down every single cop, security guard, or anyone who looks like they might be some sort of authority figure. And with Mayor Fisk laying in a pool of his own blood and the city under siege by the Hand, Who is gonna protect the city? Who is gonna lead the city in its time of need? Not Wilson Fisk, of course not. Right now, the city needs its commissioner. The police commissioner is the one who is supposed to take over in this case when the mayor is incapacitated. But there's a problem with that. You remember our little friend Steve Cornish, the intern, who was tasked with helping Matt get through all the files? Yeah, you know, the one that Matt was actively ignoring so he could spy on Wilson Fisk? Yeah, that one. Apparently, one of the things that Matt ignored while he was spying on Fisk that Steve read off to him is that the line of succession had been changed. The commissioner is no longer the next in line. The mayor before Wilson Fisk had changed the line of succession, and Fisk never bothered to change it back, and the new ruling is still in effect. So the commissioner does not get to lead New York in its time of need. The deputy mayor is the one who will lead New York in this time of crisis. And while everyone is desperately searching for Matt Murdock, they don't realize they already have him right there, locked up, chained and cuffed, hands and feet in the back of a paddy wagon. This right here, I gotta admit, this is one of my favorite story arcs for Daredevil in recent memory. Charles Soule and Christos Engage, they have done really good jobs with Daredevil over the last, last couple of years they were working on that book, leading up to Chip Zdarsky's current run. And I gotta admit, man, I'm here for it. I loved this story arc. The whole cat and mouse between Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock, and by proxy, Daredevil as well. It just leads this really cool story arc and that's one of the reasons I've always loved Daredevil as a character. Like, I just feel like, yeah, he always kind of seems to be on the struggle bus. But at the same time, I just always love the fact that, yeah, he cares about his home. He cares about his city. He's willing to put himself on the line every time, knowing that he could, discredit himself, ruin himself. But not only that, Daredevil's not a perfect person, and that's why I like him. He disappoints his friends. He never lives up to the expectations that other people have of him. And to me, that is the essence of a true hero, is that they're just like the rest of us. They're not perfect. Now, before we get out of here, are you thinking about checking out this comic? Because if you are, check down in the description or in the pinned comment below, and I'll have an Amazon affiliate link where if you click that link, you'll be able to purchase this book from Amazon.com at no extra cost and support this channel at the same time. But anyways, let me know what you thought about Daredevil Back in Black Volume 6, Mayor Fisk. Wash your hands and sound off in the comments. So hey, you made it to the end of the video. Awesome for you. If you enjoyed this video, and if you made it this far, I don't see how you didn't, do me a favor. Hulk smash that like button. And if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and tap that bell so you know when I post up. Also, feel free to go check out my Patreon, where if you chuck in a buck, you can get early access to most of my videos up to a week early. And if you have time, make sure you swing by nerd901.com, where you can find more of my content as well as other amazing stuff. Anyways, until next time, I love you 3000 plus ultra!